My name is Naomi Sterling. I'm 29 years old, and after a fight, my husband canceled my ticket and left me alone at Dubai airport with no phone, no wallet, and no way to call for help. A multimillionaire walked up and whispered, "Pretend you're my wife. My driver is almost here." Then he said, "Your husband will regret this." He was right, and I had no idea just how true those words would become. Before I continue, if you're watching this, please hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and comment below letting me know where in the world you're watching from. Trust me, you'll want to stay until the end of this story. The worst part wasn't the abandonment itself. It was the way Julian looked at me when he did it. That cold, satisfied smile that like he'd been planning this moment for months and was finally getting to watch it unfold. I stood there in Terminal 3 of Dubai International Airport, the air conditioning blasting at 68 degrees, but I was shivering like I'd been thrown into ice water. I was wearing a cream linen dress, the one Julian had picked out for me 3 days earlier, saying it would photograph well. My wedding ring, a simple platinum band because Julian said anything flashy would be too much for someone like me, felt like it was burning a hole through my finger. The fluorescent lights overhead were so bright they made my eyes water. Or maybe I was already crying and didn't realize it yet. All around me, people were rushing past, pulling designer luggage, speaking in Arabic, French, Hindi, languages I couldn't understand, and I felt so completely, devastatingly alone. My heart was racing so fast, I thought I might pass out right there on that polished marble floor. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I tried to take a deep breath, but it felt like someone had wrapped steel bands around my chest. Let me take you back 15 minutes, to the moment everything fell apart. We were standing at the Emirates check-in counter, one of those sleek, modern desks with purple lighting and attendants in burgundy uniforms. I had made a simple request, so simple I didn't think twice about it. I asked the clerk if I could change my seat assignment to a window seat. That's it. Just a window seat because I'd never flown to Dubai before and I wanted to see the desert, the city, the ocean. I wanted to see something beautiful after 5 years of feeling invisible. Julian's face changed instantly. It was like watching a mask crack and reveal something rotten underneath. He leaned in close to me, so close I could smell the coffee on his breath, and he whispered in this icy voice I'd never heard before, "You're embarrassing me. You've always been embarrassing." The way he said always felt like a slap. Like he'd been keeping a tally of every moment I disappointed him for our entire marriage. Then he said the words that shattered something inside me that I didn't even know could break. I married beneath me. Everyone said so. I should have listened. He didn't whisper that part. He said it loud enough that the woman behind us in line heard. I saw her eyes widen with second-hand humiliation, and I wanted to sink into the floor and disappear. Before I could respond, before I could even process what he'd just said, Julian reached out and snatched my handbag right out of my hands. It was a Burberry bag, actually, the one his mother Patricia had given me for our 3rd anniversary. I remember being surprised she'd given me anything at all since she usually pretended I didn't exist at family gatherings. Now I realize she probably gave it to me just so Julian could take it back one day. Everything in that bag, my passport, my phone, my wallet with my credit cards and cash, my lipstick, the little packet of tissues I always carried, all of it, gone. "Julian, what are you doing?" I asked, reaching for the bag. My voice came out small, confused, like a child who doesn't understand why they're being punished. He yanked it away from me and clutched it to his chest like I was trying to steal from him. "You'll get it back when you learn to behave," he said. Just like that. Like I was a dog that had peed on the carpet. Then he turned to the attendant and said, "Cancel her ticket. She won't be traveling today." The attendant looked uncomfortable, glancing between us, clearly not wanting to be part of whatever domestic situation was unfolding at her desk. But Julian had that authoritative voice, that Ivy League confidence that made people obey him without question. I watched him walk away. That's what I'll never forget. I stood there like an idiot, thinking he'd come back, thinking this was just him being dramatic, needing space to cool off. But he kept walking. Through the security checkpoint, his leather carry-on bag over his shoulder, his boarding pass in hand. And then I saw her, Victoria, his colleague. She was waiting for him on the other side of security, her platinum blonde hair catching the airport lights like she was in a shampoo commercial. She smiled at him, this intimate, knowing smile, and put her hand on his lower back. Too low, too familiar. That's when I knew. This wasn't about a fight. This wasn't about a seat assignment or me being embarrassing. This was planned. He had planned to leave me here, stranded in a foreign country, while he flew off to wherever they were really going, probably some romantic hotel where they could finally be together without his inconvenient wife in the way. I tried to run after them, but security stopped me. Of course they did. I had no boarding pass, no ID, nothing. I tried to explain, my words tumbling over each other. My husband, he took my passport. He canceled my ticket. Please, I need to... But my voice was shaking so hard I could barely get the words out, and I could see in their eyes that they didn't believe me. Or worse, they did believe me, and they thought I was just another messy American having a marital breakdown in public. One of the security guards, a man with a thick mustache and kind eyes that didn't match the suspicion in his voice, started asking me questions in accented English. "What is your name? Where are you staying? Do you have any identification?" I had nothing, no answers that would help me. I was just a 29-year-old black woman in a cream dress, crying in an airport, claiming her husband abandoned her. The guard reached for his radio, and I felt panic rising in my throat like bile. I didn't know what would happen to me. Would they arrest me? Deport me? Detain me? I'd heard stories about Dubai's strict laws, about how you could end up in jail for things that wouldn't even be illegal in the States. My mind was racing through worst-case scenarios when I felt someone step up beside me. He was tall, maybe 6'2", with salt and pepper hair styled perfectly, wearing a charcoal gray suit that probably cost more than my car payment. His skin was a warm olive tone, his eyes a deep cognac brown, and when he spoke, his voice had this French accent that made even a simple question sound elegant. "Excusez-moi, madame, are you in trouble?" I looked at him, this complete stranger, and something in his eyes made me trust him. Or maybe I was just desperate enough to trust anyone who didn't look at me like I was crazy or criminal. Before I could answer, he leaned in closer, so close I could smell his cologne, something expensive and woody, and he whispered urgently, "Listen to me carefully. Pretend to be my wife. My driver is about to arrive. Trust me now. Ask questions later." His hand found mine, gentle but firm, and he turned to the security guards and said something in rapid Arabic. I don't speak Arabic, but I could hear the authority in his voice, the ease of someone who was used to being listened to. The guards nodded, and the one with the mustache actually apologized, waving us through. As we walked away, this stranger still holding my hand, he leaned down and whispered one more thing that made my entire body flood with something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. "Your husband will regret leaving you here, I guarantee it." A sleek black Mercedes S-Class pulled up to the curb outside, and so shiny I could see my reflection in the paint. A driver in a crisp white shirt and black tie stepped out and opened the back door without a word, like he'd done this 1,000 times before. The stranger gestured for me to get in first. I stood there for a second, my brain finally catching up to what I was about to do. Get into a car with a man I didn't know in a foreign country with no way to call for help. But what choice did I have? Go back inside and let security detain me? Try to find the American embassy with no money, no phone, no ID? Sit on the curb and wait for Julian to develop a conscience and come back for me? That last option made me want to laugh and cry at the same time, because I absolutely knew in that moment that Julian wasn't coming back. This was exactly what he wanted, me powerless and alone, while he started his new life with Victoria. "Take me with you," I heard myself say. My voice sounded stronger than I felt. I climbed into that Mercedes, and the leather seats were so soft I sank into them like a cloud. The door closed with that expensive, solid sound that only luxury cars make, and suddenly the chaos of the airport was muffled, distant. The stranger slid in beside me, and the car pulled away from the curb, smooth and quiet. I watched the airport lights fade in the rearview mirror, and reality started to hit me in waves. I had just gotten into a stranger's car in Dubai, with no way to contact anyone. I could be kidnapped, trafficked, murdered, and no one would even know where to start looking for me. My heart started racing again, and I must have made some kind of sound because the man turned to me and said in that calm, accented voice, "Take a deep breath, madame. I know this is insane, but you're safe now. I promise you that." "Why are you helping me?" I managed to ask, gripping the edge of the seat so hard my knuckles went white. "You don't even know me." He looked at me for a long moment, and in the dim light of the car, I could see the sadness in his eyes, the kind that comes from losing something precious. "My name is Raphael Armand Beaumont," he said. "I'm 45 years old. I was born in Marseille, but grew up between France and Algeria. I've lived in Dubai for the past 8 years, running luxury hospitality properties across the Middle East and North Africa." He paused, and his voice got quieter. "I lost my wife 10 months ago, complications during childbirth. She died, and our baby girl survived, and I've been trying to figure out how to be both parents ever since." "I'm so sorry," I whispered, and I meant it. Even in my own crisis, I could recognize that kind of grief. He nodded. "I saw what your husband did. I was 3 people behind you in line. I watched him take your bag. I saw the way he smiled at that blonde woman. I heard what he said to you about marrying beneath him." Raphael's jaw tightened. "I know that cruelty. I recognize it because I've seen it in business, in families, in people who think power gives them the right to destroy others. So, you help random strangers in airports because of that?" I asked, trying to understand. "No," he said simply. "I help you because I need something in return. Nothing immoral, nothing physical, but I need an exchange and I think you and I might be able to help each other in ways neither of us expected." The car turned onto this massive bridge, and suddenly Dubai spread out before us like something from a dream. Skyscrapers that seemed to touch the clouds, lights glittering everywhere, the ocean dark and vast beside us. It was so beautiful it made my chest ache, because here I was, seeing one of the most incredible cities in the world, and I couldn't even enjoy it because my life had just imploded. "What do you want from me?" I asked, turning back to Raphael. He shifted in his seat to face me more directly. "Tomorrow I have a critical meeting with investors from Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. They're very conservative, very traditional. They're considering a $650 million investment in a luxury resort chain I'm developing. But there's a problem. They don't trust widowers. They think we're emotionally unstable, likely to make rash decisions, too grief-stricken to run a business properly." His voice was matter-of-fact, but I could hear the frustration underneath. "My wife always attended these meetings with me. Without her, I lose credibility. I've tried hiring actresses, consultants, anyone who could play the role, but they all looked exactly like what they were, paid performers. Nobody believed it." "And you think they'll believe me?" I asked. "Yes," he said, "because you have something they can't fake. You have the eyes of someone who has truly lost something. You have real pain, real dignity, real presence. They'll believe you because you're not pretending to have lived. You have lived." I sat there processing this insane proposition. "So you want me to pretend to be your wife at a business meeting?" "Yes, just for a few hours. Sit beside me, smile when appropriate, look comfortable. You don't need to be affectionate, just familiar. Like 2 people who've known each other long enough that they don't need to perform their relationship." He paused. "In return, I'll provide you with a safe place to stay, meals, a phone so you can contact anyone you need to reach, and when this is done, $20,000 in cash." $20,000. That was almost a year's salary from the marketing job I'd quit to support Julian's promotions and relocations. That was enough money to start over, to get an apartment, to hire a lawyer, to build a life that didn't depend on anyone else. "And if I say no?" I asked, needing to know I still had a choice. "Then I'll drive you to a hotel, pay for your room, give you a phone, and help you contact your embassy," Raphael said. I'm not holding you hostage, Naomi. You're free to leave at any point, but I think you're smart enough to recognize that right now you need help, and I'm offering it. Wait, I froze. How do you know my name? He had the grace to look slightly embarrassed. I saw it on your luggage tag when your husband was at the counter. I apologize for the invasion of privacy, but I wanted to know who I was helping. I should have been more worried about that, about how much he'd observed, how carefully he'd been watching. But instead, I felt something else, relief. Because for the first time in 5 years, someone had actually paid attention to me. Not to dismiss me or criticize me or make me smaller, but to genuinely see me. I have a condition, I said, and I was surprised by how steady my voice sounded. You help me find out what my husband has done. Not just leaving me here. I need to know if there's more, if this was part of something bigger. And when I have the truth, you help me make sure he never does this to anyone else again. Raphael extended his hand, and when I shook it, his grip was warm and strong. We have a deal, Naomi Sterling. The car pulled up to a gate that opened automatically, revealing a driveway lined with palm trees and little lights embedded in the cobblestones. And then I saw the house. No, not a house. A villa. A massive, stunning villa on Palm Jumeirah, the man-made island shaped like a palm tree that I'd only ever seen in magazines or on Instagram. White archways, floor-to-ceiling windows, a fountain in the courtyard that was lit up in turquoise. It looked like something from a movie, not like a place where real people actually lived. Holy shit, I whispered, and then immediately covered my mouth. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Raphael laughed, and it was the first genuine sound of happiness I'd heard from him. Don't apologize. That's the correct response. My wife said the same thing the first time she saw it. A woman met us at the entrance, maybe in her late 40s, with warm brown skin and kind eyes. She was wearing a simple purple dress and had her hair wrapped in a colorful scarf. This is Simone, Raphael said. She's been with us for 6 years. Simone, this is Naomi. She'll be staying with us for a while. Simone looked at me, and I saw her take in everything. The wrinkled dress, the tear-stained face, the absence of any luggage, and her expression softened with understanding. Welcome, chérie, she said in an accent that sounded Haitian. You look exhausted. Come, let me show you to your room, and I'll bring you something to eat. I followed her up a marble staircase that curved like something from a palace, my hand trailing along the smooth banister. The guest room she showed me to was bigger than the entire apartment Julian and I had shared in Manhattan during our first year of marriage. There was a king-size bed with white linens that looked like clouds, a deep soaking tub visible through an open doorway, and a balcony that overlooked the dark, glittering ocean. The bathroom has everything you need, Simone said gently. Towels, robes, toiletries. There's a button by the bed if you need anything at all. I'll bring you some food in a few minutes, okay? You haven't eaten, have you? I shook my head, not trusting myself to speak without crying. She patted my shoulder and left, closing the door quietly behind her. The moment I was alone, I collapsed onto that massive bed and started sobbing. Not delicate tears, but ugly, gasping sobs that came from somewhere so deep inside me I didn't even know it existed. I cried for myself, for the 5 years I'd wasted, for the woman I used to be before Julian convinced me she wasn't good enough. I cried because I was terrified and relieved and angry and grateful all at the same time. Simone came back later with a silver tray, mint tea in a beautiful glass cup, warm bread with butter, dates, cheese, fruit, simple food, but it tasted like the best meal I'd ever had, probably because it was the first thing I'd eaten in almost 24 hours. Monsieur Raphael said to give you this, Simone said, handing me a brand new iPhone still in its box. It's yours, already set up with an international plan. His number is programmed in, and you can call anywhere you need to. I held that phone like it was made of gold. Thank you, I whispered. After Simone left, I sat there on the bed for a long time, just staring at the phone in my hands. Finally, I dialed the number I knew by heart. It rang 4 times, and then I heard her voice, groggy with sleep. Hello? Destiny, I said, and my voice cracked on her name. It's me. Naomi? Oh my God, where are you? Julian called me like 6 hours ago saying you disappeared at the airport. He sounded so worried. Said you two had a fight and when he turned around you were gone. He's been calling everyone. He's lying, I interrupted, and I could hear the anger in my voice now, cutting through the pain. Destiny, he left me. He canceled my ticket, took my purse with my passport and everything, and walked away with his coworker Victoria. He left me stranded in Dubai. The silence on the other end was so heavy I could feel it. Then Destiny said, in a voice I'd never heard from her before, low and furious, "I'm going to kill him. Naomi, I swear to God, I'm going to drive to Connecticut right now and kill him with my bare hands." Despite everything, I almost laughed. Destiny Chen, my best friend since freshman year at Columbia, my brilliant, fierce, protective best friend, who had never liked Julian from the start. She told me at my wedding, while helping me get dressed, "It's not too late to run. I have my car outside. Say the word and we're gone." I should have listened to her. "Don't kill him yet," I said. "I need you to do something else first. I need you to tell me the truth. All of it. What's Julian been doing?" Another long pause. "How did you know?" Destiny asked quietly. My stomach dropped. "Know what?" "Naomi, I didn't want to tell you like this. I was waiting until you got back, until I could tell you in person." She took a deep breath. "Julian filed for divorce 3 weeks ago. He claims you abandoned the marriage, that you've been having an affair, that you're mentally unstable and making increasingly erratic decisions." The room spun. 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, we were sitting at our kitchen table in our Boston apartment, and Julian was telling me about this business trip to Dubai, saying it would be like a second honeymoon, a chance to reconnect. He'd been so convincing, so sweet, buying me that cream dress, holding my hand on the plane during takeoff. "There's more," Destiny said, and I could hear her moving around, probably getting her laptop. "I've been investigating since he called pretending to be worried about you. Naomi, he emptied your joint savings account the day before you left, all $127,000. Transferred it to an account I can't access, probably offshore." I couldn't breathe. That money was supposed to be our future. Money we'd saved for a down payment on a house, for starting a family, for emergencies. "What else?" I asked, because I knew there had to be more. You don't plan something this elaborate for $127,000. "Your grandmother's inheritance," Destiny said softly. "Naomi, it was $2.3 million. The Charleston property, the jewelry collection, the trust fund. You signed papers putting it all in joint accounts, remember? For tax purposes," Julian said. "Do you remember that?" I remembered. 6 months ago, after Grandma Lorraine's funeral, Julian had sat me down with a stack of papers and his financial advisor and convinced me it would be smarter, safer, more tax-efficient to consolidate everything. I'd been grieving, exhausted, and I trusted him. I signed everything he put in front of me. He's been systematically transferring assets for the past 3 months, Destiny continued. I found records of 18 different transfers, each one just under the reporting threshold so it wouldn't trigger any automatic alerts. He's moved at least $2.1 million that I can track so far. The anger that had been simmering inside me since the airport suddenly boiled over. That son of a bitch. That goddamn son of a bitch didn't just leave me. He robbed me. "It gets worse," Destiny said. "Victoria isn't just his colleague. I did some digging. She's Patricia Montgomery's goddaughter, Julian's mother's goddaughter. They've known each other since childhood. Victoria started working at Julian's firm 18 months ago, and I found social media posts of them together at family events going back years. Naomi, I think this whole thing has been planned for a while. Meeting you, marrying you, waiting for your grandmother to die, taking everything, and then discarding you." I felt like I was going to vomit. Why would they do this? Why go through all of that? "Because people like Julian and his mother think that they're entitled to everything," Destiny said, and I could hear the fury in her voice. "They saw a smart, beautiful black woman with an MBA from Columbia, thought you'd be easy to control, easy to use. And when your grandmother died, and suddenly you had real money, money they couldn't access without marrying you first, they made a plan. I'm so sorry, Naomi. I should have seen it. I should have protected you." "This isn't your fault," I said. wiping angry tears from my face. This is on them. And Destiny, I need you to document everything, every transfer, every communication, every piece of evidence you can find, because I'm not just going to survive this. I'm going to make sure they pay for what they've done. We talked for another hour, and with every new piece of information Destiny uncovered, the picture became clearer. Julian had been planning this for months, maybe even years. The trips that kept him away from home, the financial planning meetings, the insistence that I quit my job to support his career, the gradual isolation from my friends and family. It was all part of the plan. Make me dependent, make me vulnerable, take everything, and then leave me with nothing. But he'd made one critical mistake. He'd underestimated me. He thought leaving me stranded in Dubai would break me, that I'd come crawling back begging for mercy, that I'd sign whatever papers he wanted just to come home. He had no idea that the moment he walked away from me in that airport, he'd actually set me free. The next morning, I woke up to sunlight streaming through silk curtains and the sound of the ocean waves beyond the balcony. For a few seconds, I forgot where I was, forgot everything that had happened. Then it all came crashing back, and with it came a determination I'd never felt before. Julian wanted to destroy me. I was going to prove that I was unbreakable. Simone brought breakfast to my room. Turkish coffee that was thick and strong, fresh fruit, pastries that melted in my mouth. She also brought something else. Monsieur Raphael says you'll need clothes for the meeting tonight. I'm to take you shopping this morning. Shopping? In Dubai? With what money? I didn't have $1 to my name. But Raphael had thought of that too. Simone handed me a black credit card with my name already embossed on it. It's yours, she said. Monsieur Raphael opened an account for you this morning. He said to get whatever you need. We went to Dubai Mall, which wasn't just a mall. It was like a city unto itself. Luxury boutiques I'd only ever walked past in New York, now with sales associates who smiled at me and Simone like we belonged there. Because we did. When Simone mentioned Raphael's name, their entire attitude shifted. Suddenly, we had private dressing rooms, champagne, assistants pulling pieces from the back that weren't even on the floor yet. I tried on dozens of dresses, elegant sheaths, flowing gowns, tailored suits. Everything felt like playing dress-up, like pretending to be someone I wasn't, until I put on the navy blue dress. It was simple but stunning, with clean lines that made me look powerful instead of pretty. The kind of dress a woman wears when she has nothing to prove because she's already won. That's the one, Simone said, smiling at my reflection. You look like you could run the world in that dress. We added shoes, simple heels that wouldn't make me taller than Raphael, a strand of pearls that looked classic and expensive without being showy. When they asked about my hair, Simone said, "We have someone coming to the house." By the time we got back to the villa, there was a whole team waiting. A hairstylist who swept my natural curls into an elegant updo that showed off my face instead of hiding behind my hair like I usually did. A makeup artist who enhanced my features without making me look like someone else. When I looked in the mirror, I barely recognized myself, not because I looked different, but because I looked like who I was always supposed to be. Confident, powerful, worthy. Raphael knocked on my door an hour before we needed to leave. When I opened it, I saw something flash across his face. Surprise, appreciation, something else I couldn't quite name. "You look perfect," he said. "They'll believe it instantly." "Raphael," I said, "I need to know about your wife, the one I'm supposed to be. I need to know who she was so I don't make mistakes tonight." His expression softened, and he gestured to the chairs on my balcony. We sat overlooking the ocean, and he told me about Lila. They'd met at a hospitality conference in Monaco 15 years ago. She was a hotel manager from Morocco, brilliant and kind, and the only person who'd ever challenged him. They built the business together, traveling the world, opening properties in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Muscat, Riyadh. She got pregnant at 44, Raphael said quietly. We tried for years, given up hope, and then there she was, carrying twins, girls. The doctors said there were risks, but Lila was stubborn. She said she'd waited her whole life to be a mother, and nothing was going to stop her now. "What happened?" I asked gently. "Preeclampsia. It came on fast in the 8th month. They did an emergency C-section, got the babies out safely, but Lila started hemorrhaging. They tried everything. Transfusions, surgery, everything. She died on the table while I held her hand. His voice cracked. The last thing she said to me was, "Don't let them destroy what we built." She wasn't talking about the business. She was talking about our daughters. "I'm so sorry," I whispered. "The babies survived." Amelie and Celeste, they're 6 now. Beautiful, brilliant, and they ask me every day where their maman is. He looked at me. I tell them she's watching from heaven, but Amelie is too smart for that. She knows her mother is gone, and she knows I'm drowning trying to be both parents. "Where are they now?" I asked. "With Simone. She's been helping me care for them. They're shy around strangers, especially women. I think they're afraid of getting attached and losing someone again." He paused. "You'll meet them tomorrow. For tonight, you just need to know the story we're telling." We spent the rest of the afternoon rehearsing. We met at a hospitality conference in Rio de Janeiro 7 years ago. We courted long distance for 2 years before marrying in a small ceremony in Provence. We honeymooned in Santorini. I had a background in hotel management and marketing, which was actually true. I'd worked at the Excelsior in Boston for 3 years before Julian convinced me to quit. We had no children yet, but we were hoping. All elegant lies except the last part. I'd always wanted children. Julian kept saying we weren't ready, that we needed to wait until he made partner, until we had a bigger apartment, until. Now I knew he never intended to have children with me at all. That evening, we arrived at Burj Al Arab, the 7-star hotel shaped like a sail. A Rolls-Royce picked us up because, as Raphael said, arriving in anything less would signal weakness to these investors. I'd never been in a Rolls-Royce before. The ride was so smooth it felt like floating. 3 men were waiting in a private dining room on the top floor. Sheikh Abdullah, around 60, with a neat beard and traditional dress. Mahmoud, younger, maybe 50, in an expensive suit and gold watch. And Faisal, quiet and intense, the one I knew I had to impress because he was clearly the decision-maker despite being the youngest. Raphael introduced me in Arabic first, then in English. "Gentlemen, my wife, Naomi." His hand rested on my lower back, protective and appropriate. When he pulled out my chair, our eyes met for just a second, and I saw gratitude there. Real gratitude. The conversation flowed in Arabic mostly, which gave me time to observe. The way they moved, the way they tested each other with jokes and challenges. Abdullah was the diplomat, Mahmoud the enthusiast, Faisal the analyst. Every now and then, Raphael would translate something for me, his hand finding mine under the table, and I'd smile and nod. Then Faisal turned to me and spoke in accented but perfect English. "Mrs. Beaumont, your husband says you have experience in hospitality management. Tell me about it." The room went quiet. This was the test. Raphael tensed slightly beside me, but I felt strangely calm. Because finally, after 5 years of making myself smaller for Julian, I was being asked about something I actually knew. "I worked in hotel operations for 5 years, I said, looking directly at Faisal. "Started at the front desk and worked my way up to assistant operations manager at a 4-star hotel in Boston. 350 rooms, 92 staff members. When I left, our occupancy rate was at 94% year-round, and we'd won the Excellence Award from our parent company 3 years running." "Why did you leave?" Abdullah asked. I could have lied, made up something about wanting to focus on family or support my husband's career, but something in me rebelled against that story, against making myself small again. My husband's work required relocation, and I made the choice to prioritize his career advancement over mine. It's a choice many women make, and one I'm reconsidering now that we're building something together again. Faisal tilted his head, reassessing me. Mahmoud stopped his loud laughter, and Abdullah actually smiled. They started discussing the resort project, showing projections and market analyses on a tablet. I stayed quiet mostly, sipping water, being the supportive wife, until I saw something that made my marketing brain light up. They were talking about opening 5 properties simultaneously across the Gulf region, but their projections were all over the place. "May I?" I asked, reaching for the tablet. Raphael looked surprised, but nodded. I studied the numbers for a moment, and I could feel all of them watching me. "Your projections for Dubai are too optimistic," I said carefully. "The market here is already saturated with luxury properties. You'll struggle to differentiate." The room went absolutely silent. "But Oman is severely undervalued in this analysis," I continued. "Muscat is becoming a destination for luxury travelers who want something more authentic than Dubai. Your projections have it at 60% occupancy in year 1, but I think you could hit 85% if you market it correctly to European travelers seeking cultural experiences." I handed the tablet back, suddenly worried I'd overstepped. Then Abdullah started laughing. Not polite laughter, but genuine amusement. "Raphael, my friend, your wife understands the market better than half our consultants. We'll sign the deal, but on one condition." Raphael leaned forward. "What condition?" "That she reviews the Oman business plan before we finalize it. I want her analysis on the record." 3 hours later, we were back in the Rolls-Royce, and Raphael was grinning like he'd won the lottery. "They signed. $650 million they actually signed." He turned to me. "Naomi, you just saved this deal. When you challenged those projections, I thought we were finished. But then Abdullah saw that you actually understood the business, that you weren't just decoration, and that sealed it for him." "I shouldn't have interrupted," I said, feeling embarrassed now. "No," Raphael said firmly. "You should have, because you were right. And because you showed them something I couldn't, that this business is built on real expertise, not just my name and reputation." Back at the villa, Raphael poured 2 glasses of juice. "Nothing alcoholic," he explained, out of respect for his business partners, and we sat on the terrace overlooking the ocean. "I need to tell you something," he said, his voice serious. "I owe you much more than $20,000 for tonight." "A deal is a deal," I said. "Yes, but you gave me something I didn't expect. You gave me back my confidence. Since Lila died, I've been questioning every decision, second-guessing everything. Tonight, watching you handle those investors, seeing you trust your instincts, it reminded me what partnership actually looks like." He paused. "I want to make you a different offer." My stomach tightened. "What kind of offer?" "Stay. Not for a few days, stay for 6 months. A real contract marriage, completely legal. You'll receive $850,000 deposited into a private account in your name only, untouchable by anyone else. You'll work as a consultant for our hotel projects, earning $35,000 a month. My legal team will protect all your assets in the U.S. Make sure your husband can't touch anything that's yours." He looked at me intently. "And in 6 months, we'll divorce amicably. You'll keep the money, keep the connections you've made, keep your independence. You can go back to America or stay here or go anywhere else in the world. Your choice. But I promise you, your husband will never make you feel small again." I stared at him. "Nearly $2 million total. Financial independence. Legal protection. A job that used my actual skills instead of making me feel like a decorative accessory. It was too good to be true." "Why?" I asked. "Why would you give me that much?" Raphael's expression darkened. "Because my son, Rashid, is trying to have me declared mentally incompetent. He's filed petitions with the courts saying I'm too grief-stricken to run the company, that I need a conservatorship, that he should take control of everything Lila and I built. A real marriage, with a wife who's actively involved in the business, destroys that narrative. It shows I'm stable, capable, moving forward with my life." So he needed me too. This wasn't charity. It was survival for both of us. "I have conditions," I said slowly. "Name them." "First, your lawyers don't just protect my assets. They investigate Julian. If he's done anything illegal, if he's forged documents or committed fraud, I want proof. I want enough evidence to make sure he pays for what he's done." "Done," Raphael said immediately. "Second, this is a business marriage. Separate rooms, separate lives. We only appear together when necessary for business or legal reasons. Mutual respect, nothing more." "Completely agreed." "Third," I paused, choosing my words carefully, If I ever become a burden, if I ever make you regret this, you let me go. No guilt, no obligation. I've spent my entire adult life being made to feel like a burden. I won't live that way anymore. Raphael set his glass down and took both my hands in his. Naomi, listen to me very carefully. You are not a burden. You never were. Your husband created that story to justify his cruelty, but tonight, I watched you impress 3 of the toughest investors in the Middle East. I saw you analyze a business plan in minutes and spot things my consultants missed in weeks. You are brilliant, capable, and valuable in your own right. His voice got stronger. I accept all your conditions, but I have one of my own. You must promise me that you'll stop apologizing for existing. I felt tears prick my eyes, but I blinked them back. We have a deal. 3 days later, Raphael and I stood in a government office in Dubai and signed papers that made me Naomi Sterling Beaumont. The ceremony was sterile and quick, just a few professional witnesses required by law. No flowers, no music, no romance, just signatures that changed everything. I took a photo of the marriage certificate and sent it to Julian's phone with a simple message. I'm alive, I'm married, and from now on you have no power over me. See you in America when I decide to return. His response came back in seconds. Have you lost your fucking mind? Who is this guy? What kind of scam are you running? You're still my wife. I showed the message to Raphael, and he actually laughed. Not anymore, she's not. Then he took my phone and typed back, This is Raphael Beaumont. Your ex-wife is now under my legal protection. Any attempt to contact her without her express permission will be considered harassment and handled accordingly. All further communication should go through our attorneys. Have a pleasant day. Then he blocked Julian's number. The next 4 months were the most intense of my entire life. I wasn't kidding when Raphael said I'd actually be working. On day 2, after our government ceremony, I was already sitting in meetings reviewing blueprints for hotels that hadn't even been built yet. At 29 years old, I suddenly had a schedule busier than I'd ever imagined possible. I woke up at 6:00 a.m. every morning, had a quick coffee, and joined video conferences with architects in Paris, developers in Riyadh, interior designers in Milan. Lunch wasn't a break. It was a working meal where Raphael would introduce me to contractors, investors, anyone who needed to see that he had a stable partner. I was learning Arabic phrases, understanding Middle Eastern hospitality customs, studying market reports until my eyes burned. But here's the thing, I loved it. For the first time in years, my brain was actually being used for something other than figuring out how to make Julian's life easier. I rediscovered talents I'd forgotten I had, but my years at the Excelsior weren't just about managing a front desk. I'd learned scheduling optimization, cost analysis, customer retention strategies. I took all of that knowledge and applied it to Raphael's projects. The Oman property I'd commented on at that first investor dinner became my baby. I took their projections and completely restructured them. I created a full feasibility study, market analysis, competitive positioning, pricing strategies, staffing models. When I presented it to Sheikh Abdullah, I half expected him to tear it apart. Instead, he asked me to fly to Muscat and present it to the local partners myself. I went alone. Raphael offered to come with me, but I said no. I needed to prove, to myself more than anyone, that I could do this without anyone holding my hand. And I wore a sand-colored suit Simone had helped me pick out, carried a tablet with my presentation, and walked into a room full of 10 Omani businessmen who looked at me like I was a curiosity at best, an insult at worst. 15 minutes into my presentation, they stopped whispering to each other and started taking notes. 30 minutes in, they were asking detailed questions about seasonal occupancy rates and operational cost management. By the end, one of them said in English, "We have consultants who charge $50,000 per report. You have given us better analysis for free. Why?" "Because I believe in this project," I said, "and because I want to prove that sometimes the best expertise comes from people you don't expect." I closed that deal myself. When I called Raphael from the airport to tell him, I could hear the pride in his voice. "You're extraordinary, Naomi. I knew you had talent, but watching you actually use it, seeing you come into your own, it's remarkable." For the first time in my adult life, I felt pride. Not the kind that comes from making someone else happy, but the kind that comes from proving something to yourself. Meanwhile, back in the States, Destiny was watching my digital trail and uncovering more evidence of Julian's crimes. And they were crimes, not just moral failures. His legal team had discovered that Julian had forged my signature on multiple documents: power of attorney papers, property transfer forms, loan applications. He'd taken out credit cards in my name and maxed them out. He'd gotten a car loan using my credit score and then registered the vehicle solely to himself. "We have enough for criminal charges," Destiny told me during one of our weekly video calls. "Forgery, embezzlement, fraud. He could face 6 to 12 years in federal prison, Naomi. Do you want me to proceed?" I sat there in the villa office, staring at my laptop screen, looking at my best friend's face. Part of me wanted to say yes immediately, wanted to watch Julian's perfect life crumble the way he'd tried to destroy mine. But another part of me, the part that was growing stronger every day, said to wait. "Not yet," I said. "Keep everything, document everything, but don't file anything yet. Because if I press charges now, people will say Raphael manipulated me, that I'm just a scorned wife seeking revenge. I need to go back to America first. I need to look Julian in the eye as his equal, not his victim. And then, if he still tries to destroy me, we'll release everything." The twins, Amelie and Celeste, were the surprise I didn't expect. They were shy at first, hiding behind Simone's skirts whenever I walked into a room. But slowly, carefully, I started building trust. I'd sit in their playroom and just read my own book, not forcing interaction, just being present. After a week, Amelie brought me a drawing she'd made, a family of butterflies. "Do you like butterflies?" I asked her gently. She nodded. "Maman liked butterflies. She said they were brave because they changed into something beautiful." My heart broke a little. "Your maman was very wise." "Are you going to be our new maman?" Celeste asked, her big brown eyes so hopeful it hurt. "I'm your papa's friend," I said carefully, "and I'm your friend too, if you want me to be. But your maman will always be your maman. Nobody can replace her." Amelie looked at me seriously. "Did you have a maman?" "I did. Her name was Lorraine. She died last year." "Were you sad?" "Very sad. I'm still sad sometimes." Amelie climbed into my lap then, something that surprised both of us. "Me too," she whispered. After that, the girls started seeking me out. They'd ask me to help with their homework, to braid their hair, to read bedtime stories in English since Simone only read to them in French. I taught them how to make American pancakes. They taught me how to play their favorite clapping games. It was natural and easy in a way that nothing with Julian ever was. Raphael would sometimes watch from doorways, and once I caught him wiping his eyes. "They haven't laughed like that since Lila died," he said quietly. "Thank you for giving that back to them." But fate, as always, has terrible timing. I was reviewing the Muscat Hotel blueprints one afternoon when my phone rang. Destiny, and her voice was tight with urgency. "Naomi, Julian's coming to Dubai. He bought a ticket. He lands tomorrow." My blood turned to ice. "How does he even know where I am?" "I don't know, but he's been posting on social media, rallying people, turning you into a story. He's claiming you were kidnapped by an international con artist, that you're being held against your will, that he's coming to rescue you." Destiny paused. "Naomi, he's making this into a public spectacle. He has people convinced he's the hero and Raphael is the villain." I hung up and immediately found Raphael in his office. When I told him, his expression hardened. "He's trying to force your hand. If he makes a scene publicly, you'll have to respond, and he's betting you'll choose to come back with him to avoid embarrassment." "He doesn't know me anymore," I said. "The woman he married would have been terrified of a public confrontation, but I'm not her anymore." Raphael smiled slightly. "No, you're not. So what do you want to do?" "Let him come," I said. "Let him see exactly who I've become. And then let him try to claim I'm the one who's lost." Julian arrived like a storm. He didn't call, didn't text, didn't warn me. He waited until a flower delivery came to the villa and slipped through the gate behind the delivery person. Simone came running to find me, her face alarmed. Madame, there's a man in the foyer. He's shouting for you. I walked down those marble stairs in a cream silk blouse and tailored pants, my hair styled perfectly, every inch of me put together. And there he was, Julian Montgomery, my husband of 5 years, standing in the middle of Raphael's villa looking completely out of place. His hair was messy, his shirt wrinkled, dark circles under his eyes. He looked like he'd aged 10 years in 4 months. When he saw me, his face cycled through shock, anger, and something that looked almost like fear. "Naomi," he said, his voice cracking. "Thank God, I've been so worried. Are you okay? Did this man hurt you?" I descended the rest of the stairs slowly, taking my time. "Hello, Julian." "I've been looking everywhere for you," he continued, his voice taking on that pleading tone he used when he wanted something. "Baby, what happened at the airport? I was wrong. I was stressed about work, and I said things I didn't mean. But we can fix this. Just come home with me. We'll work it out." "Work what out exactly?" I asked, my voice calm and cold. "Work out how you stole $2.3 million from me? Work out how you forged my signature on dozens of documents? Work out how you planned to abandon me in a foreign country while you started a new life with your mother's goddaughter?" Julian's face went white. "I don't know what lies this man has told you." "Stop," I said, and something in my voice made him actually close his mouth. "Don't insult me by pretending you care. You canceled my ticket. You took my passport, my phone, my wallet, everything. You looked me in the eyes and smiled while you destroyed me. Or at least you tried to destroy me." "You're not well," Julian said, shifting tactics. "Can't you hear yourself? You've been brainwashed." "This is exactly what I told the embassy. You're not thinking clearly. You've been manipulated by this man." Raphael appeared at the top of the stairs then, and Julian's attention snapped to him. "You," Julian snarled. "What have you done to my wife?" "She's not your wife," Raphael said, descending the stairs with that casual authority he wore like a second skin. "She's mine. Legally married, fully documented, completely consensual. And before you embarrass yourself further, you should know that my lawyers have compiled a comprehensive file on every illegal action you've taken regarding Naomi's assets." Julian looked between us, and I watched the realization dawn on his face. "You married him? You actually married this stranger?" "Yes," I said simply. "The divorce you filed went through. I'm no longer Naomi Montgomery." "I'm Naomi Beaumont." "This is insane," Julian said, his voice rising. "You were abandoned at an airport 4 months ago, and now you're married to a billionaire? Do you hear how crazy that sounds? No one will believe this." "And yet here we are," I said. Julian took a step toward me, his hands raised like he was going to grab me, but Raphael moved faster, positioning himself between us. "Touch her and see what happens," Raphael said, his voice deadly quiet. Destiny had flown in that morning as a surprise, and she chose that exact moment to walk through the door, carrying her lawyer briefcase and wearing her power suit. "Julian Montgomery?" she asked in her professional voice. Julian spun around. "Destiny? What are you doing here?" "Representing my client," she said, pulling out a thick folder. "Mr. Montgomery, you're being served with notice of civil proceedings. My client is suing you for fraud, embezzlement, and financial abuse. The total amount, including damages and interest, is $4.7 million. She handed him the papers, and I watched his hands shake as he tried to read them. "This is bullshit," he said. "I was protecting our assets. She was making bad decisions." "You forged her signature," Destiny interrupted, "on 17 separate documents. That's not protection, that's fraud, and we have proof of all of it." Julian's face was turning red now, that vein in his temple throbbing the way it used to when he was really angry. "You know what I think?" he said, turning back to me. "I think you planned this whole thing. I think you seduced this rich man at the airport, played the victim, and now you're trying to steal my money." The absolute audacity of that statement almost made me laugh. "Your money? Julian, you don't have money. You have gambling debts to the tune of $890,000 that you were trying to pay off with my grandmother's inheritance." He froze. "How did you—" "Victoria told us," I said, and watched the color drain from his face. "She left you, by the way, 2 months ago. said she wasn't going to risk her career for your family drama. She also provided additional evidence of your fraud in exchange for immunity from prosecution. Julian looked like he was going to be sick. "I want to speak to my wife alone," he said desperately. "She's not your wife," Raphael repeated. "Naomi, please," Julian tried again. 5 years. We had 5 years together. That has to count for something. I know I made mistakes, but I loved you. I love you. And there it was. The declaration I'd wanted to hear for so long. The words that would have broken me 4 months ago. Now they just made me tired. "No, Julian," I said softly. "You didn't love me. You loved having someone you could control. You loved that I made your life easier. You loved that I gave up my career, my friends, my dreams, all to support yours. And when I inherited money and suddenly became a person in my own right instead of just an extension of you, I became a threat. So you planned to take everything and leave me with nothing." "That's not true," he said, but his voice had lost all its conviction. "Yes, it is. And the saddest part is that I believed for so long that I was the problem, that I wasn't good enough, wasn't smart enough, wasn't worth loving. You and your mother spent 5 years making me feel small. But you know what? I'm not small. I never was. I was just surrounded by people who needed me to be small so they could feel big." I took a breath and continued. "So, here's what's going to happen. You're going to return every dollar you stole, every transfer, every fraudulent loan, every forged document will be reversed. You're going to make a public statement admitting what you did and apologizing, and you're going to resign from your firm." "I'll be ruined," Julian whispered. "Yes," I said simply. "You will, just like you tried to ruin me. The difference is, I'm giving you a choice. Do all of this willingly, and we won't press criminal charges. Fight us, and you'll face up to 12 years in federal prison. Plus," I added, "the UAE has very strict laws about financial fraud. Raphael's lawyers can arrange for charges to be filed here too, where the penalties are even harsher." Julian looked at Raphael. "You'd really do that? Send me to prison in Dubai?" "Without hesitation," Raphael said. "You tried to destroy someone I care about, someone under my protection. Yes, I would absolutely do that." Julian stood there for a long moment, looking between all of us, me, Raphael, Destiny, and I watched something break in him, the realization that he'd lost, that his perfect plan had backfired spectacularly, that the woman he'd thought he could throw away had become someone he couldn't touch. "I need time," he finally said. "You have 72 hours to decide," Destiny said. "After that, we file criminal charges in both countries." Julian looked at me one last time, and I saw hatred in his eyes, pure, undiluted hatred. "You're going to regret this." "No," I said. "I really won't. But you will. You already do." He left, and the moment the door closed behind him, I felt my legs give out. Raphael caught me, helped me to the sofa, and Simone appeared with tea like she'd been waiting for the exact moment I'd need it. "That was the hardest thing I've ever done," I whispered. "It was also the bravest," Raphael said. Over the next 72 hours, I barely slept. Destiny stayed at the villa, working with Raphael's legal team to prepare for either outcome, Julian's compliance or criminal proceedings. On hour 68, my phone buzzed with an email. It was from Julian's lawyer. "Mr. Montgomery agrees to the terms. Repayment plan attached. Public statement drafted for your approval. Resignation letter submitted to his firm. He requests no further contact." I read it 3 times to make sure it was real. Then I forwarded it to Destiny, who confirmed everything was legally binding. Julian had actually agreed. He was going to pay it all back. "He'll spend the next 2 years living like a monk to pay off what he owes you," Destiny said. "His credit is destroyed, his reputation is gone, and his mother has apparently disowned him after learning about the gambling debts." I should have felt victorious. Instead, I just felt tired. Tired and sad and strangely empty, because the man I'd loved, or thought I loved, had been revealed as a complete stranger. Someone capable of cruelty I'd never imagined, and I'd wasted 5 years of my life on him, Raphael found me on the terrace that night, staring at the dark ocean. "Are you okay?" he asked. "I don't know," I admitted. "I got what I wanted. Justice. Restitution. Proof that I wasn't crazy, wasn't making it up. But I don't feel happy. I just feel hollow." He sat beside me. "That's normal. You're grieving. Not for who he was, because he was never who you thought. You're grieving for who you hoped he could be, for the marriage you deserved but never had. When does it stop hurting?" I asked. "It doesn't stop," Raphael said gently, "but it changes. The pain becomes bearable, and eventually you realize you're living again, not just surviving." 2 years went by. 2 full years of building a life I never imagined possible. I'm 31 now, and I'm sitting on the balcony of my apartment in Muscat, Oman, watching the sun sink into the Gulf and paint the distant mountains in shades of orange and gold. And on the table beside me is a stack of reports from the hotel we opened 3 months ago, the Al Ismir Boutique, the first in a chain of 5 properties, 91% occupancy, 4.8-star average rating, first quarter profits exceeding all projections. My hotel, my vision, my success. My phone buzzes. A message from Simone, who's now the general manager of our Dubai branch. "Mrs. Beaumont, a guest in room 304 specifically asked for you. They said they'll return when you're available." I smile. This is the kind of problem I like solving. Raphael steps onto the balcony carrying 2 cups of cardamom tea. He's 47 now, more gray in his hair, deeper lines around his eyes, but lighter somehow, like he's carrying less weight. "The final blueprints for the Salalah Hotel arrived," he says. "Want to review them today or tomorrow?" "Tomorrow," I say. "Today I just want to enjoy this moment." Our contract marriage ended 18 months ago, but when that date came, neither of us mentioned divorce. Raphael just asked, "Would you like to go to dinner?" We did. And the next morning, we both woke up and went to work like there had never been an expiration date. There were no dramatic love confessions, no movie-style romantic gestures. It happened quietly, naturally, holding hands while reviewing contracts, goodnight kisses that started to linger, Sunday mornings with the twins becoming Sunday mornings with our family. Not because we had to, but because we wanted to. The girls call me Maman Naomi now. Amelie wants to be an architect. Celeste wants to be a lawyer like Auntie Destiny. They're 8 years old, brilliant and confident and kind. I adopted them legally last year, and they have 2 mothers now. Lila, who will always be their first maman, and me. My phone rings. It's Eleanor, and when I answer, I see my sister with someone else on the screen. Renata. No, not Renata. My daughter. Julian's name was never mentioned. That chapter is closed. Wait, I need to clarify. I'm getting confused in my own story. Let me correct that. It's Destiny calling, and she's with her new wife celebrating their anniversary in Dubai. Actually, I need to step back and tell you about Patricia Montgomery, because she showed up 6 months ago at my office in Muscat. Aged drastically, humbled, alone. Her husband had left her after the financial scandal. Julian had cut off contact. She had nothing and no one. "I was wrong," she said simply. "About you. About everything. You were never the problem. I was." I didn't forgive her, but I released the anger I'd been carrying. "Thank you for teaching me a valuable lesson," I told her. "You showed me that I should never let anyone make me feel small again, and for that, in a twisted way, I'm grateful." She left, and I never saw her again. Julian sent me a letter after 2 years, not asking for forgiveness, just saying, "You deserved better. I was broken. I broke you. I'm sorry." I read it once and filed it away. Some hurts don't need a response. Last month, I launched the Renaissance Woman Initiative. It's a business accelerator for women recovering from financial abuse. We provide training, legal support, seed funding, and mentorship. In our first year, we helped 250 women start their own businesses, get out of abusive situations, reclaim their independence. The opening day, when I shared my story with a room full of women who had been exactly where I was 2 years ago, every single person was crying. A 73-year-old woman raised her hand and asked, "Weren't you afraid to start over at this age?" I smiled. I was terrified. But I learned that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing not to let fear control you. Raphael proposed again. For real this time. Not a contract, not a business arrangement. We were on a beach in Seychelles, the twins building sandcastles nearby, and he just turned to me and asked, "Will you stay? Not because we have papers, but because you want to?" "I already am," I said. "I have been. I will." We renewed our vows last month in a small ceremony on the beach. Destiny was my maid of honor. The twins were flower girls. Sheikh Abdullah gave me away because, as he said, I was there when you became who you are now. So here's what I learned through all of this. Betrayal sometimes comes from the people you trust most, but rescue can come from the most unexpected places. Julian canceled my ticket trying to erase me. Instead, he freed me to become someone he never could have imagined, someone I didn't know I could be. They leave you stranded hoping you'll disappear. But what if instead you bloom exactly where they abandoned you? I didn't lose my marriage. I lost a prison I didn't know I was in. The best revenge isn't destruction. It's becoming so successful that they can't even reach you to apologize. And sometimes the worst thing that happens to you is actually the best thing that could have happened. You just can't see it in the moment. So I want to ask you, have you ever had someone try to break you, only to realize later they actually freed you? Have you ever been betrayed by the person you trusted most? And if you could go back, would you change what happened? Or do you see now that it led you exactly where you needed to be? Share your story in the comments. Let's build a community of people who refuse to stay down. Hit subscribe if you want to hear more stories about resilience, about women who turn their pain into power. And let me know where you're watching from. I love knowing this message is reaching people all over the world. My name is Naomi Sterling Beaumont. I'm 31 years old. And the day my husband canceled my ticket and abandoned me in Dubai was the first day of the life I was always meant to live. He thought he was leaving me stranded. He had no idea he was setting me free.